Welcome back to Budz Radio. This is episode 2 of our Budz Founder series. It's me, Rye Russell. I am here back with Michael Major, founder of Green Lane Communication and PR extraordinaire. And today we've got a few different topics we want to talk about. So I will let Mike kick us off and we'll jump right in.
Appreciate that, Rye. So let's get right to it, man. I mean, the big thing happening in your world right now, and I think in the Buds community is Buds Cares Foundation. So let's talk a little
Yes.
bit about, and you've been talking about this for a little bit. I see you teasing it out there. What exactly is it, and why are we doing it? Why are you doing it?
Well, why are we doing it? You are part of the team.
Yes, sir.
So the Budz Cares Foundation started out of necessity. Budz is very involved with the community. We've been giving back and giving out for years. And I personally needed that weight off my shoulders. There's an extraordinary amount of pressure when, somebody's in need and somebody else is in need and you have to make a choice. And it's hard. And, I'm very empathetic and it's hard to make those tough decisions. And so creating a more formal structure and a committee really helps take some of that pressure off of me while allowing the mission to grow and allowing people to get involved and expand our resources. Um, we really wanted to get involved with the community more. And there were so many limitations with our business and our industry getting involved with family activities because it's always looked at marketing to children. And so the evolution and creation of Budz Cares Foundation means that we have a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is completely separate from the Budz industry side of the business that can make an impact and get involved in a way that the business cannot. And that doesn't mean that there aren't limitations and struggles that we're finding out, but it does allow us to do more. For example, our first project is we are taking the town's trunk or treat and making it the extravaganza of the season. And so it'll be at the town rec center. We'll have cars all throughout. Buds will have our cafe, small version of our cafe set up where all contributions will be a donation basis to the foundation. So get some coffee, get some hot chocolate. The staff will be handing out amazing candy and gifts to the children. There'll be a photographer there for best costume and best family theme and just a bunch of different categories. But we wanted to make it more than just the town. We wanted to make it the region. We wanted people to come out. We want the high school kids to think this like nobody's too cool for Halloween. I always thought I was too cool for Halloween, but I've got a great green and pinstripe suit that I'll be wearing for my Bud Father costume down at this extravaganza. So I'm excited. This is the first time that anything that I've been able to do in the last decade can involve young families and children. So the town is super excited. The community's super excited. The Budz Cares board is super excited. In addition to the Halloween event, which we want everyone to come out for, this year we are going to up the stakes on our turkey giving. So last year, Buds gave away 106 turkeys in total. And this year, Budz Cares Foundation, with the help of some community partners, is going to give away 200 turkeys. And so I believe October 1st, we will have an application process on budscares.org. and you'll be able to apply for a turkey. And then the day we will post an email the day that those turkeys are available, and you'll just need to come to the store to pick those up. No purchase necessary or anything like that. Just if you get confirmation that there's a turkey with your name on it, come on up to Bud's Emporium and pick up a turkey the day that they're delivered, and you're going to have an amazing feast on Thanksgiving, and we are so grateful to be a part of it. Nobody should go without a turkey and a home cooked meal on Thanksgiving.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And I just want to point out too, you did this last year, right? Am I correct on that?
Last year was our first year that we did it as a business. We had been planning and saving for it for a couple of years. But last year was the first year that we actually executed it. And we learned a lot. There was a lot of things that we needed to fine tune and tweak. But this year, kind of consolidating the operations allows us to make a larger impact. So last year we did delivery, which was a nightmare and a crisis. This year we're not going to be able to do delivery, but because there was so much expenditure and so many resources allocated to delivery, we can actually reallocate all of that time, money, and resources to getting more turkeys. So the only thing is if you can't get out of the house, find a neighbor, find a family member, and come claim your turkey.
I love that. I love that. I love the direction of all of this too, and how tangible it is, the things that we're doing. And that's something that I really always wanted to get behind. People have different initiatives that they do, but I know in today's day and age, especially, that a lot of people can be a little wary about, okay, well, how much of my donations and how much of my, good is actually going to go to people in need. And I think what really drew me personally to the Budz Cares Foundation, and just you, like as a friend over the years, is you could just see hand to hand directly what was going on in the dispensary, in the park, just talking to customers. It's way more than just, hey, here's something going on with what we're selling, or hey, here's something that, here's an offer that we have. It's really about giving the community what they need, giving them a place to feel heard. And that started with Bud's Emporium. And now to see that trickle over into the community even more in a real, truly structured way with infrastructure behind it to give it the love and support that it needs, I think is phenomenal. And talking about turkeys and the fact that I just had breakfast not too long ago, I want to dive in a little bit about the bistro. What was it? Because most people do not see the connection there. I'm sure they enjoy it.
Yeah.
But how does a dispensary decide to open up a bistro within the same building?
A lot of manic thought. With the Yeah, to a degree. Well, it started years ago with the thought of we have a massive parking lot. It's huge. And we wanted to see if we could lease out space, if we could bring in a vendor, if maybe we could grow into something, but we wanted to utilize the space to increase foot traffic. And we had reached out to a franchise that we thought would fit our community and our business model very well. And they had no interest. And I spent months trying to get in front of them. I mean, we had the money and, we were ready to go. Um, but like everybody, when I said I was opening a store in Medway, told me there was no market there. People don't see the 15 seconds off the highway on the highway in Maine. They don't see that we are access to the recreational areas of the most beautiful part of the state. So they see Medway, 500 people, no market. We're not that kind of town. We're a drive-through town. We've got a core community, but we are access. We're access to the highway. We're access to the mountain. And so we got overlooked. And we really thought long and hard on what to do. And then we decided that our store itself is so physically big that why not just try to bring it in-house, save payroll, spread payroll over multiple expenses, and utilize more square footage. And the state will never go for it. The state will never go for it. Well, the state had no interest in it. And it was a lot of work. Our attorneys worked really hard. I mean, their whole team worked extraordinarily hard to prove that there was no legal reason why we couldn't do this. Um, and so we built the cafe. It exploded. People loved the drinks. The staff did an incredible job with the beverages right out of the gate. I mean, they put hours and hours and hours. I taste tested so many drinks. And the natural evolution was everybody was like, wow, this is great. If only you offered breakfast sandwiches. Well, then it's like, well, I wonder how real that is. So we did a lot of research. We talked to a lot of our community, and we invested heavily in equipment to allow us to do breakfast sandwiches and paninis. And I mean, it's an incredible machine. It's an incredible concept. My attorney was up here this past weekend with friends and peers of his, and they came in and they were blown away. Like, normally a dispensary is just a few shelves and some product, and you're in and out. But when you walk into Budz, it's an experience. You smell food. There's drinks being made in front of your eyes. Like, it's a destination. It's not just a dispensary. And the cafe was like, do we need it? Is it worth the investment? We went back and forth, but we were already so invested in the cafe that the bistro just kind of made sense. It allowed us to do some more marketing, some more promotion, and a bundle deal, especially for the working members of the community within the area that need a quick lunch. Stopping in at Budz is super convenient. Grab a panini, bag of chips, a brownie or cookie, and a large cafe beverage for under 20 bucks. You can't go wrong. So it's just naturally grown. We're finally at a place where we feel like, we've come pretty close to perfecting our products, and we're putting more marketing behind it now. But we really wanted to start small and do it right. I wasn't trying to be Starbucks overnight. I wasn't trying to be Panera overnight. I'd like to beat them, but I'm going to beat them in value. I'm going to beat them in quality, and I'm going to beat them in convenience. And that's just kind of what Budz is about. Let's say a Panera is a 10 sandwich, but it's 20 bucks. We want to be an 8.9, and we want to be 10 bucks. And that's just kind of our philosophy is we want to be almost as good as perfect, but priced at what's so reasonable, it almost is questionable.
I love that. I love that. And there's obviously a lot going on there to be able to pull that off and execute it in a way that's sustainable, delivers on quality, embraces the care that you guys have throughout the entire organization and team. But in the midst of all of that, what would you say is the hardest part of running? I don't even want to call it a dispensary, ride. This destination that you're building with Budz. What is the hardest part about it?
Great question. The hardest thing about it today is different than the hardest thing about it years ago. And it's probably different than the hardest thing about it 5 years from now. As my role has evolved, the problems have changed, the things that get my attention has changed. So in the early years, what's the hardest thing? Marketing, communication, branding, selling. Uh, then staff is always hard, managing personalities. I have so many leaders. I mean, they're all experts of their craft. They're expert knowledge people. They're expert salespeople. They've turned into expert beverage makers and panini makers. Their work ethic is unmatched. But when you have so much excellence and so much pressure. There's a lot of personalities to manage, and so that's always a challenge. But I'm grateful for that challenge. And vendor relationships, I mean, your best vendors, you've got to manage those relationships like your significant other. Communication, treating each other with respect, looking out for each other's best interests. And ultimately, I'd say, as the CEO of Budz and the vision of Bud's ecosystem, it's aligning everything so the engine is always fueled to serve what we're trying to accomplish. And the engine is Bud's the business. It has to be profitable, it has to be sustainable, or none of the foundation and Bud's Cares works. There's no resources for it. The resources come from the business. And that whole ecosystem is fragile, like any ecosystem is. And so it's my job to balance profit with purpose. And luckily, I tend to lean heavily towards purpose. Uh, but my team also reminds me you got to have profit in order to fuel the purpose. And so, I'm very lucky to be surrounded by great people to help balance me because if it was up to me, it's just give, 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 give. That's where I get the most joy. I love getting breakfast at Grand Belly's, the cafe right here down the road. And whenever I go there, no matter what, whether I'm with staff or by myself, I always ask the server staff to find one table and provide their meal for free. And I always push them, make sure they get dessert. And this last week we did that for an older couple, and we asked them to say it's on the house, not that it came from us or anything. And the server went up to the table and said, your meal is on us today. We wanted to bless you with this gift. And she said, we strongly encourage you to get dessert. And this old man just raises his hands and he's like, pie. And, I just got so much joy. I love that. I don't know if pie is a treat, if, they don't normally afford pie or what, but the joy that this gentleman had from getting free pie, it made my whole day. So, that's kind of the season I'm at in my life. And, yeah, so it's a tough balance, but the hardest thing of running a profitable business is keeping it profitable.
Yeah, and I love that. I love the pie story. It's things like that that just light up anybody's day in ways that just every other thing that you think is going to change your day just simply doesn't. And you said it is very difficult, A, for any business to be profitable. I think a lot of people see a lot of glitz and glamour online on social media and whatnot, but to actually run and sustain a profitable business is tough, let alone in the buds industry. It's incredibly difficult. And so I'm pretty sure there's a stat out there that says about only 24% of companies are profitable in this space and in this industry. Can you kind of break down why that is the case?
I believe that number is taking into consideration taxes. I would assume that if taxes were off the table, that number would be a little bit higher. The problem is the rule of 280E, and not to bore people with tax law, but it basically doesn't allow anyone in my industry to take normal business deductions. So if you make 100 grand and your operating expenses are 80,000, in a normal business, you'd be taxed on 20,000. Not at Buzz. You're taxed on 100,000. So that percentage could be 50, 60%, everything included, taking into consideration all your taxes. So if your profits stink, you've already lost money because your taxes out the door is higher than your costs. So for us, It was all about setting a price that was fair, maximizing volume and foot traffic, and then just going to work on my vendors to find profitability for all of us, but not at the sacrifice of the customer. We'll sacrifice. Taxes went up 4.5% this year. My prices dropped 10%. I will never pass stupid rules onto my customer. That being said, you still have to be profitable. So I had to go back to my vendors, renegotiate deals, increase volume, whatever it took to get the price I needed so I could deliver the best price for the community. And that philosophy has fueled the business. It's the only reason we've been profitable. And I, we might have earth-shattering sales revenue, but that net profit number at the end of the year is so fragile and so thin that a bad month, a bad week, it all every day. And so people ask me, why are we 365? Why do we have no holidays? Why, be, because you don't know what tomorrow is. And quite frankly, you might have to make up for yesterday. So you've got to do the work 365, 13-hour days, if you want to reap the rewards of what this industry has to offer. I mean, the community rewards work, they reward effort, and they know who's putting in the work. And I mean, I work 7 days a week. I don't have to. I could have been done, I could work probably 3 days a week and everything would run the way it does. I have great managers, I have great staff, but I like having an ear to the ground. I like hearing feedback from customers. I like hearing what the managers have to say in live time. And so working 7 days a week now looks very different than 7 days a week at the start. 7 days a week at the start means I'm on the sales floor, I'm selling, I'm grinding, I'm gritty, I'm dirty, and I'm doing everything. Where now I work really, really, really hard from about 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every day. Very focused. I have intention. I know the night before what I'm doing the next morning. After 10 a.m., I'm just a member of the Budz ecosystem. Where can I add value? What can I do? Sometimes it's storytelling and, a Facebook post. Other times it's going upstairs and helping brew our amazing cold brew coffee. I'm above no rule in this company. I'm not the best at it, but I'll even, make a sandwich for you. In order to be profitable, you've got to put in the work. When I see these other stores in my industry closing at 4:20, people think that's a novelty or that's funny. To me, it's a lack of respect for your community. You're gonna close in the middle of the day before people get out of work. It, that's not service. It takes a lot of sacrifice, and I've run many businesses outside of this industry, and this is the hardest industry to make a profit. And it's hard in any business. I mean, I would say I've had 20 businesses, three have been profitable, and this is one of them. And it's the hardest. It is the hardest.
Yeah, how do you actually manage your time and prioritize different things? Because you're juggling so many different things. Yes, you've got great managers, you've got incredible staff, but still, how do you actually manage and prioritize your time and what you focus on throughout those 7 days of the week?
Back when I first started my kind of Bud's career, when you and I had met, one of the pieces of advice that I had given to you was keep your Fridays clear. And that was always something that was kind of a hard and fast rule of mine. Um, that rule is expanded. Now it's keep everything clear because I have so much staff that virtually nothing needs me. And if it does, it needs a sentence. It could be an email, a text. It almost never needs me on site to make a decision. And so I don't, my phone is completely block calls. Unless you are in my phone and in my top 10, my phone doesn't ring. Uh, I I schedule maybe 3 meetings a week tops. That doesn't mean I won't take something urgent that comes up, but I rarely schedule a meeting. Um, I keep my calendar as empty as possible, which is the opposite of most CEOs who are like, oh, 10 to 7, I need every half hour and 15 minutes blocked off. I I argue that that's not extremely productive when you're taking that many meetings. Like your mind's not focused on anything. Where for me, I'm a hyper focused kind of guy where I won't move on until I've solved the problem that's in my brain. And it's an obsession, it's a curse, it sucks. I don't wish it upon anybody. But if there's a big problem, I'm not sleeping until that problem's solved. So it's in my best interest to solve that problem as quickly as possible. Um,
So you can get back to
but
sleep.
yeah, but that's how my mind works. So for me, the prioritization is give my mind the most amount of white space to think. Because me thinking turns into dollars. We just created a Budz beverage elixir, innovative product, but it just came out of cafe, infusing drinks. How do we make this happen? Who to call? What R&D needs to be done? What needs to go into it? So that project came out of a obsessive thought that I then obsessed about until it was executed. And so for me, prioritization really is clarity. It's clearing everything off my plate, allowing my mind as the thinker of the organization to think. That's my job. And our company is so much more productive, so much bigger, so much faster now that I'm a thinker and an executor and not a salesperson. Like the salespeople fuel the company. They're our most important staff that we have. So I don't want anybody to get confused that there's a different level between CEO and salesperson because there is no CEO without sales. So the salespeople are the superheroes of every organization. So ultimately, you want to talk about priorities? My priorities are to make sure the salespeople have as little stress as possible.
Yeah. How do you actually empower your team from top to bottom so that they do have what it is that they need in order to make those decisions quickly, efficiently, effectively?
Great question. Practice, repetition, work. We brainstorm, we visualize, we think ahead of the problem. So we try to come up with every single problem before the problem exists and how are we going to deal with it? Whether it's a security problem, we got security plans. Whether it's a fire problem, we got fire plans. Whether it's an angry customer, we got angry customer plans. Whether it's a recall, we got recall plans. Like we've got scripts and strategies for every worst world case scenario imaginable. And I'm exaggerating, but I'm emphasizing the fact that it's about the repetition, it's about practice, it's about being ahead of the problem. So for me, it's just constantly asking the staff, hey, if I thought of this today with this new system. So if XYZ happens, do this. If this happens, what would you do? And we'll have a conversation. And then immediately after a problem, a potential problem is identified, there's a group chat. We identify the potential problem and we identify the solution. So that way, everybody is aware, oh, that's a good idea. If that comes up, now I know what to do. But you got to practice them. It's just like sales. You don't get good at sales or customer service without repetition.
For sure. For sure. Well, that's great. That's a great tip. That's a great tip right there and great feedback. Well, right. I mean, I don't want to take up more of your day. I'm sure you got more things to take care of, more people to help support. So I'm gonna let you go, my friend. But I really do appreciate this. This was awesome as always. I'm excited for the next conversation, the next chat that we have. I know you're cooking up a couple really interesting things in the background behind the scenes. So hopefully next time when we get together, we could dive into some of those things as well. Because I'm genuinely curious, but you keep telling me, hold your horses, cowboy. I can't give you the secret sauce yet until the recipe's mastered. So I appreciate you, my friend.
My goal is to always be innovating. I hate being stagnant. I love producing things. I love building things. I love tinkering, and it's everything right now is bonus time. And so I'm having the time of my life. But some of the best things that we or I have to offer are yet to come. And I'm really excited to share those with you, and we'll start sharing more of that with you next time. For now, thank you so much for joining another episode of Budz Radio. We'll see you soon.